Assalamu alaikum everybody, we're back with another episode of the Legal Decode and जो टॉपिक आज है हमारा वो मेरे लिए बहुत स्पेशल है बिकॉज दिस इज समथिंग जो हम पिछले 5 सालों से ट्रैक कर रहे हैं। बीच में एक आधा साल हमारा मिस हुआ बट वी डिसाइडेड कि इसको हम कंटिन्यू करेंगे और हर साल हम इस पे मेहनत करते हैं। एंड आई हैव विद मी माय वेरी वेरी डियर फ्रेंड एंड कॉलीग ताबीन सरमद, जिसने ये हमारी वुमेन्स रिप्रेजेंटेशन इन जुडिशरी, women's the state of women in judiciary की जो लेटेस्ट रिपोर्ट है उसको इन्होंने ऑथर किया है। एंड वी आर वेरी ग्रेटफुल दैट शी टुक आउट द टाइम फॉर अस टुडे टू टॉक अबाउट हर वर्क। ये रिपोर्ट हमारे लिए इसलिए भी इस दफ़ा बहुत अहम है क्योंकि इन 5 सालों को हम जब ट्रैक कर रहे थे तो उसके अंदर एक हमारे पास कंटिन्यूटी थी एक सिस्टम की। लेकिन पिछले साल 26वीं और 27वीं आईनी तरमीम के बाद एक सिस्टम के अंदर एक एवोल्यूशन आई है, एक रिफॉर्म आया है। एंड यू नो notwithstanding our reservations on those amendments, लेकिन क्योंकि फेडरल कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल कोर्ट एक रियलिटी है तो हम इसको अब एक नई बेसलाइन के तौर पे भी कंसिडर कर रहे हैं। और ये डेटा हमारे लिए इसलिए बहुत अहम है बिकॉज इट ऑल्सो सिग्निफाइज दैट the break in the old system and because there have been reforms, तो हम ये भी देखना चाह रहे थे कि उन रिफॉर्म्स के नतीजे में जेंडर स्कोर कार्ड क्या है जुडिशरी के हवाले से। सो ताबीन, आपसे शुरू करते हैं। आप मुझे सबसे पहले तो बताएं, हाउ आर यू एंड how was the experience of working on this report this year?
Okay, so first of all, thank you so much for having me, Miss, and thank you so much for entrusting me with the with this report. It was pretty good. I mean, it was slightly, I would say, some parts of it, I was a bit confused this year because, as you've mentioned, that we had the Federal Constitutional Court भी आया है और इस तरह की कुछ चीजें थी तो, it was a bit sort of in that way, it was a bit confusing. How are we going to, reconcile this with the
हाँ,
fact that हमारा comparative analysis चल रहा है for the last 4 years?
yeah.
But we figured that out and it was good. Other than that, it is always a very enlightening experience for me because so you tend not to take notice or take stock of what is going on, and then when you actually sit down and you start to compare numbers, and then you see the actual numbers of how much of a gender gap exists within the
Yeah.
judiciary. It honestly, like, I did it last year as well, but still it just shocks you. It does always shock you. Okay, really, is this it? Is this all that has happened? So I mean, it's a really great experience, especially working with you. But the report itself sometimes just makes me sad.
Yeah, it does, but also, I think it's such an important thing to do to map,
Yeah,
what
absolutely.
the what the numbers have been like. And I was thinking कि हमने तो 2020-21 में शुरू किया ये, लेकिन
Yeah,
मुझसे पहले से कर रहे होते या उससे मतलब ये डेटा इस तरह का शुरू से अवेलेबल होता, जो कि अनफॉर्चुनेटली पाकिस्तान में इस तरह से एविडेंस बेस्ड डेटा इज अ वेरी न्यू कॉन्सेप्ट। एंड
yeah,
अभी भी बहुत कमी है ऐसे डेटा को एक्सेस करना। एंड उसमें ऑब्वियसली वी मस्ट थैंक तैयबा मुनीर, तैयबा काकर फॉर हेल्पिंग अस विद द डेटा।
yeah,
वी मस्ट
absolutely.
ऑल्सो थैंक जैनब आबिद
Yeah,
इस्लामाबाद से चैप्टर से, उन्होंने हमारी मदद की। एंड इसी तरह इट वुड बी रियली नाइस इफ दिस वाज समथिंग दैट वाज डन शुरू से इंस्टीट्यूशनल लेवल के ऊपर। लेकिन अभी
hmm,
भी मुझे लगता है कि चलो 2020-21 में भी अगर हमने मैपिंग शुरू की है और उसमें अब 5 सालों बाद जो भी प्रोग्रेस है या नहीं है वो तो आपकी रिपोर्ट हमें भी बताएगी। लेकिन
yeah,
वो इट्स रियली इम्पोर्टेंट टू ब्रिंग these realities in a visual way forward so that you
absolutely,
can
absolutely.
actually, जब आप बात करते हो कि अच्छा ये डिस्पैरिटी है या इंस्टीट्यूशन के अंदर ये लैक कर रहा है सिस्टम, बिकॉज आगे पीछे अगर आप लेमैन टर्म्स में लोगों से पूछो तो दे डू से कि इतनी तो औरतें हैं, यू नो
Hmm,
और क्या आपने करना है एंड ऑल, बट दे डोंट रियली सी इट इन दैट काइंड ऑफ मैक्रो कॉन्टेक्स्ट जिसमें जब डेटा सामने
absolutely.
आता है। सो आई थिंक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट एक्सरसाइज है, बड़ी टीडियस एक्सरसाइज है, पर्टिकुलरली जिन सर्कमस्टांसिस में हम कोशिश करते हैं काम करने की। तो एक्सेसिंग डेटा के चैलेंजेस हैं और भी हैं, वो हम साथ साथ ऑब्वियसली उनका जिक्र करेंगे। बट विदाउट फर्दर टू आई वुड रिक्वेस्ट यू नाउ टू रन अस थ्रू योर प्रेजेंटेशन।
Yeah, sure. Okay.
I don't know if I should be excited, but uh, let's see what you have to offer us because I completely agree with you that the data can be very, very shocking despite us, seeing it through every year.
Absolutely.
But sometimes it really does sort of put you in that state कि अच्छा यार अभी तक पिछले साल भी ये था अच्छा बस इतना ही change आया है and also it does kind of get a bit overwhelming that way and frustrating at times also but
Can you see my screen?
um not yet but now yes now I can it's
Okay,
visible
now.
now
Great.
yes.
Okay. Sorry, we'll just go back. Okay. So today we are here to talk about the state of representation of women in the judiciary for the year 2025. So we will naturally be focusing on the stats and figures that we have received for 2025 itself. And then we will also be taking stock of the last 5 years as well while we're going through the report. So, first, we will begin by discussing the subordinate judiciary and what the stats and figures have been regarding 2025. Then, we will move on to the higher judiciary, which will include the high courts, the Supreme Court, the Sharia, Federal Shariat Court, Shariat Appellate Court, and while we reserve our stance on the FCC, it will also obviously include that because our stance and a fact, they're not reconciling, but, since it is a fact, since it's there, since it's operational, so, we had to include it for the most accurate quantitative analysis. Then we will move on to comparing it with the last 5 years since 2020. And, then we will move on to the conclusion of, what the situation is in 2025. Okay, so first, a little bit about the report is that, like we've discussed as well, that it is taking stock of basically what the status is of women's representation. And it is basically, like we've mentioned, so I will just run through this quickly, that the judicial positions, where women stand, how many women are in the higher courts, how many women are in the subordinate courts, what overall it looks like, all is being recorded for our record purposes as well, and also for a comparative purpose that when we started this project in 2020, when you started this, Miss, and every year since then, how has the landscape changed? So, as you started in 2020, then in 2022, you had the first female justice in the Supreme Court, and then what all else has been going on? Because if we take a look back at 2020 versus 2025, the legal landscape, especially the judicial legal landscape, is drastically different now with the addition of an extra court and, all of these other things. So we will be going through all of that together. So generally, this report was made with a quantitative report, which is with a quantitative approach, which is basically that we have solely focused on numbers from whatever data that we could find. So it includes official data from the high courts, and then, as we've mentioned, a special thank you to Tayyaba Kakar and Zainab Abid because they also provided us with information that we felt was missing from the official courts data. And basically, we are just going to be solely focusing on the numerical and percentage values. We are not going to dive into why, how, or where, or what happened, or why this happened. We are just solely focused on the what is there in 2025. And this year, as you mentioned, there's for the last 4 years, so 2020 to 2024, we tended to exclude special court and tribunal judges from the report. But this year, for 2025, we have added special court and tribunal judges that we haven't done before. So, and so
Actually,
this,
at this point, I just want to clarify that in the first baseline report, we did have special courts and qazis included, but thereafter in our supplementary reports, जो कि सिर्फ जुडिशरी पे फोकस करी थी, उनके अंदर हम स्पेशल कोर्ट्स और काजीज को अलहदा कैटेगरी के तौर पे नहीं शामिल कर सके थे बट बिकॉज दिस ईयर अगेन वी आर ट्रीटिंग दिस एज द न्यू बेसलाइन तो हमने सोचा कि वी विल गो बैक टू आवर ओरिजिनल बेसलाइन फॉर्मेट एंड इंक्लूड दोज कैटेगरीज ऑल्सो सो दैट इज़ वाई पिछले शायद 2 या 3 साल की रिपोर्ट्स में वो कैटेगरीज अलहदा से नहीं है मेंशन
Mhm,
लेकिन बेसलाइन रिपोर्ट 2020 वाली जो है और अब क्योंकि दिस इज़ आर न्यू बेसलाइन फॉर जुडिशरी सो इनके
mhm.
अंदर वो डिटेल्स मौजूद हैं
Right.
Yeah.
And so basically, this report is based on civil judges, senior civil judges, additional district and session judges, special court and tribunal judges, high court judges, federal Shariat and Shariat appellate court judges, Supreme Court judges, and the federal constitutional court judges. So generally, for 2025, the overall amount of female judges constitutes 17% of the total judiciary. So this means this is taking stock of both the higher and the subordinate judiciary. Altogether, they make up 17% of the total judiciary, while men make up 83%. And then if we talk solely about the subordinate judiciary, it has remained constant since 2024, and that is that it is about 18% of our subordinate judiciary is women, and then 82% of it is men. And then in the higher courts, uh, we have found that there has been a slight increase. Like last year, it was really bad. It was about 4%, and then specifically in the high courts, about 3%. But this year, it has increased to 5%. So it is nice to see that there has been a slight increase, but I mean, it's still in the single figures. It's not even a double digit as it.
Absolutely, but Tabeen, when you say there has been a slight increase, you obviously you're comparing it here to 2024 situation, right? When you're talking
Yeah.
about this increase. But I mean, what's unfortunate for me to realize at this point is that when you compare it to the original baseline from 2020,
Hmm.
and that's a 5 year comparison that we will do, but it's, I think, just at the overview stage also, it's very important to mention that we are literally not being able to cross this 5% barrier
Absolutely.
as far as
Agreed.
women in the
Hmm.
superior courts are concerned or higher judiciary are
Absolutely.
concerned. And I think that is something very interesting to observe, that
Hmm.
although there, we're still calling it a nominal increase based on the data from the year before 2025, but overall, in the larger scheme
Overall,
of
yeah,
affairs, we're just not able to break that 5 or 5.5 or that barrier. And I think
absolutely.
in that larger trend line, when you observe that, that really shows that we have made no significant progress
Significant progress.
as
Absolutely.
far as
Absolutely.
our
Yeah.
representation of women in higher judiciary is concerned. So over to you again. Let's go
Yeah.
through the details.
We will actually touch this point when we actually get to the comparative analysis as well, since 2020, which is that even though, you know what, we'll save it for then.
Sure, sure.
Okay.
Great.
So then we'll start with the subordinate judiciary. And as mentioned earlier, so the subordinate judiciary of Pakistan in 2025 was 82% males and 18% females. And honestly, it looks a lot better in percentages, when you say it like that. But like if you take a look at the actual numbers, as you can see here, you had about 3,183 male judges and only 605 female judges. So while the even the percentage, I mean, it's a big contrast, it's a big difference. But actually seeing those numbers is a lot more jarring for you that, you couldn't even make women couldn't even reach like the 1,000 mark. There's still 600. It's so significantly lesser than the amount of men that are in the judiciary. So that was just something upsetting to note for throughout this report, like since 2020.
And I would say one thing about subordinate judiciary. This is where subordinate judiciary is essentially your court of first instance, and a lot of your family courts and family judges are sitting in at the subordinate level. And for a lot of domestic violence and even criminal law matters, this is the main sort of civil courts and the
Mm.
the मेन जुडिशरी जो आपकी the कह लो the point of first रेफरेंस जो आपका बनता है विद इन जुडिशरी, वो ज़्यादातर केसेस शुरू और ओरिजिनेट इस सबॉर्डिनेट लेवल पे होते हैं, क्योंकि और इसी स्टेज के ऊपर लोगों ने लॉ के साथ अपने जस्टिस या अपने राइट्स के लिए अगर आना है, तो दिस इज द essentially the stage and the point of
Absolutely.
contact.
Yeah.
और वहाँ पर फैमिली कोर्ट्स में क्योंकि बाय लॉ मैंडेटेड है कि औरतें खवातीन जजेस होनी चाहिए, और फिर वी एज वी टॉक्ड अबाउट बिफोर ऑल्सो कि ये एग्जामिनेशन बेस्ड रिक्रूटमेंट मेथड है इसके अंदर
Mm.
सबॉर्डिनेट जुडिशरी में. सो ऑब्वियसली you see some women, and despite that, जैसा आपने कहा कि 1000 वाला मार्क भी हम अभी तक नहीं अचीव कर सके, सो डेफिनेटली एक बहुत बड़ा कंसर्न है, क्योंकि देखो जब तक हाई कोर्ट्स और सुपीरियर कोर्ट्स तक जाता है केस, तो वो तो काफ़ी स्टेजेस से गुजर चुका होता है।
एब्सोल्युटली।
बट एज अ लिटिगेंट, अगर मैंने पहला मेरा कांटेक्ट होना है, सपोज किसी क्रिमिनल मैटर में वट एवर, एंड आई गो टू अ कोर्ट एंड आई सी कि अच्छा ये यहाँ सिर्फ आदमी है और इट्स वेरी हार्ड टू फाइंड अ फीमेल जज
एब्सोल्युटली।
इन दैट कॉन्टेक्स्ट। मैं नहीं कह रही कि नहीं होती, लेकिन these percentages still need to improve, given that
एब्सोल्युटली।
50% population पाकिस्तान में अगर
एग्जैक्टली।
बच्चों की है, तो उस मैक्रो लेंस से भी अगर देखें तो बिल्कुल ज़रूरत है कि इसके ऊपर मज़ीद इन
Absolutely.
डेटा को।
And Miss, like as a like generally for any normal citizen, the legal process is very daunting
ट्रू।
and it's very complex and it's very scary. But I cannot imagine that in our country. I mean, we know that, women are in a more vulnerable position. And so while it is daunting absolutely for both genders, like at least like men are seeing other men around them, so it's sort of, I mean, obviously, again, like I said, it is frightening and all of that, but it's still a bit more comfortable. But for a woman to already have a hurdle that she is a woman, just her gender is a hurdle for her, and then to come and see just males everywhere, I mean, I cannot imagine that that's ever like a truly good or comfortable experience, because it is just I think that it also adds to the element of that especially in the context of criminal cases as well.
एब्सोल्युटली। एंड लाइक आई सेड ऑल्सो कि फैमिली कॉन्टेक्स्ट में तो फिर आपको मिल जाते हैं,
Yeah,
बट वही जहाँ क्रिमिनल मैटर्स हैं, और क्योंकि जेंडर बेस्ड वायलेंस के, ठीक है,
exactly.
इनिशिएटिव था कि जेंडर बेस्ड केसेस जेंडर बेस्ड कोर्ट्स में जाएंगे और वो सेंसिटाइज जजेस होंगे, बट वही बात है ना कि वो चीज़ उस तरह से क्रॉस द बोर्ड इंस्टीट्यूशनलाइज नहीं हो सकी है अभी तक।
Hmm.
एंड काफ़ी सारे मैटर्स के अंदर अभी भी you do feel that lack of representation of women in these spaces does have an impact on
Hmm.
people who want to approach the forums of
Yeah.
justice. So, I mean, this definitely, this, although it's more encouraging than the higher court numbers, but of course, it is still something that can improve and should probably improve.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so for 2025, here we can see the total breakdown of the compiled provincial data. So as we can see here, Punjab is leading in terms of number. Um, it is at 1,504 judges, male judges, and then 333 female judges. Um, Apart from that, I think that KP is still a relatively good balance, in terms of balancing the representation and the amount of figures. The rest, as we can see here, so we have 96, 24. GB is okay, slightly better, 30 to 7. And then we have in Sindh, we have 600 to not even 100. And then in Balochistan, we have 230 to just 30. So all in all together, we can see that the picture is still that, there's a very sharp contrast in terms of the amount of male and in terms of the amount of females that are within the judiciary.
So I mean, for what's very interesting for me for this slide is that you'd expect places like, not Sindh entirely, but like Karachi, and you'd expect places like Lahore, and you'd expect places like even Islamabad to be slightly better than what the data is currently showing,
Yeah,
right? But KP has
absolutely.
consistently been the most progressive in terms of women's representation in subordinate,
And yeah, and it still is, still
and
is.
it still is. So that is very, like, I would like to congratulate Khyber Pakhtunkhwa as a province for maintaining that slot consistently for so many years. But it's definitely something that everybody really jumps up at every time you tell them that, like in conferences and meetings or places wherever we've talked about these reports earlier also, and whether it's me or anybody else who's presented this kind of data, and every time they ask the audience that, which province is actually the most progressive in terms of, gender balance and gender representation in supported judiciary, and it turns out to be KP, people, the audience goes like it
Yeah,
really is surprised, and like obviously pleasantly surprised, but they really don't expect it to be KP. So I would like to really congratulate them for ensuring that there is that continuity, but it also shows that the other provinces are not really taking their cue and
yeah,
not
absolutely.
really trying to beat KP's record, because it seems like KP absolutely has no competitor at all in terms of this, because I think the provinces are not
Agreed.
thinking in terms of this being a competition at all. It's a race that they don't even know that they are in, I suppose.
I agreed. And also, I will just take a moment. So I believe that I'm very sorry, I made a typo. It's not 605 total, it's 645.
Right.
But um, that still isn't that big of an issue because the point still stands that even though there are 645, there are still 3,000 plus male judges. So, we're not even hitting the 1,000 mark, so that point still stands. So my apologies for that oversight. But yeah, so then we'll move on to the higher judiciary. So as we can see that in the High Court specifically, uh, in 2025, there were 95% males and 5% females. And as we can see here, um, if we take a look at the solely the female data comparison, we can see that till 2025, Balochistan High Court, Gilgit-Baltistan Chief Court, and the AJK High Court have not had a female judge. And then, as we can see here, most of the time in Lahore, Sindh, Peshawar, and Islamabad, it is pretty much stayed consistent at about one or two judges. So as we can see here, currently in 2025, the Islamabad High Court has nine male judges and then one female judge. And then Sindh has about 31 male judges and only two female judges. And then Lahore, same, it has 41 male judges and then only two female judges. And then Peshawar has 19 to 1. So over here, I believe that Islamabad naturally is a better balance because it is 9 versus 1. But Islamabad High Court, I mean, it's just representing one very small area of Pakistan.
True.
So, that compared to the rest of them, so like Sindh and the Lahore High Court and then the Peshawar High Court, they're representing, whole provinces. So in that light, like, Islamabad having one and then the rest of them having one or two, I think that's a bit jarring and I think that's a bit
It
um
and it absolutely jumps up, particularly with Lahore having its first, Chief Justice, female
female
Chief
Chief Justice, yeah.
Justice. You would expect, obviously, for the nominations to include more female names, right?
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I mean, that's of course a conversation for another time, because it is a very big conversation as well as to what the nomination process is and how are judges even considered for these roles, what the criteria are. There has been
Hmm.
reform in that aspect also, and it is still quite arbitrary and quite, based on who gets to nominate and who has the
Absolutely.
power to. And so it's more to do with how your proximity and your uh, awareness about your work and visibility also in the profession
Hmm.
in the eyes of the people who are eventually making those nominations. So I think overall this is something that needs to definitely be considered, because I feel that right now the current approach, and I know it's not part of your report because it's a quantitative report, but I think it's
Hmm.
important to understand or to even talk about these processes and how they end up affecting the gender balance in a certain court or at a certain tier, for example. Because
Absolutely.
I do understand that when they are recruiting judges, or when they are not recruiting might not be the right word for higher judiciary, but when they are appointing judges to the
Hmm.
high courts, or presenting their nominations, they tend to focus on, okay, oh, we're just going to look at the merit, or oh, we're just going to look at the checklist of how many number of cases this
Hmm.
person has argued as a lead counsel, and how many judgments they have in their favor, so on and so forth. So like whatever metrics that they have established are also very, very uh male centric. Like
Absolutely,
they're
absolutely.
developed in a in a environment where, the legal profession essentially was representative primarily of male
Hmm.
advocates, and female have kind of followed into the profession much later, right?
Absolutely,
And the
absolutely.
idea of merit, the idea of gauging merit, that checklist itself, I feel, needs to be reviewed, and needs to have more gender sensitivity and
Absolutely.
awareness of the context within which female lawyers are operating and working, so
Hmm.
that their competence and their merit is not based on the number of judgments, for example, because we all
Exactly.
know that they don't get to go and argue their cases even if they've worked on those cases, or that their
Right.
attendance doesn't get reflected in the court records as much as their male counterparts' judgment gets reflected. So I think all of these technical barriers also are extremely important to,
Hmm.
if the institution, if the courts, if the stakeholders want to improve these numbers that you have shared, I think it's important for them to take into consideration the idea of, what merit is and what competence
Absolutely.
is, as far
Agreed.
as making these nominations are concerned. Just wanted to
So
add these 2 cents.
And yeah, absolutely. No, no, you're right. Because I also feel so, the way we're discussing about the appointments of the higher court judges. So, in the subordinate judiciary, you have a standardized test
Yeah.
that both men and women have to take in order to make it and progress. And I feel like that is true merit, that you have a standard test that, is equally applicable, open, and, unbiased to both genders. And then, I mean, obviously, we're not going to discuss why more women will not go into the judiciary, but at least the beginning should be a level playing field
Yeah.
where, you're both attempting an examination, and then, whichever one of you is, um, scores better or whatever it is, you are the one who gets to be chosen. So I feel like, they need to reevaluate like you've said, they need to reevaluate the technicalities of what merit is in terms of the higher judiciary. But also, I feel like that, if you can make a whole new court, you can make a new system for evaluating merit. I mean, I don't think that that is something very
I
radical at
completely
this
agree.
point.
I completely agree. And it's not like you don't have examples from other jurisdictions that opened up these positions
Absolutely.
to, for example, academics and women from academia. So if you want to improve these numbers, there are so many ways that you can do that. And it's
Absolutely.
about the intention, it's about what the stakeholders believe is important for the institution. And I feel right now, improving the gender scorecard is really not on their
Absolutely.
list,
It's
and
not a
that
focal point.
it's
Hmm.
not a focal point. And I mean, that is what the unfortunate bit for me would be. And I would not take their argument that, oh, they're not enough women, or that they don't come onto the merit criteria that they have, because I have a problem with that merit criteria itself, right? So I feel that, there needs to be a lot more introspection on part of the stakeholders, and they need to take this data very seriously and do something about it,
And
for.
also, Miss, here, I would just like to add that, is it really the question of there aren't enough women, or is it really a question of we don't want to bother with looking into how
Yeah,
many women
I
there
think
are
it's
and then
more of
doing
that.
that?
That's exactly because, I mean, if you don't want to open this up to places where women are present already and have been for a very long period of time, and they have shown exceptional competence also, like for example, they're leading as in-house legal counsels of,
Hmm.
multinational legal offices and whatnot, and like they are uh, they're everywhere, if, only if they want to just open their eyes and see
Yeah.
what, where the women are. But yeah, you're completely right that, if they can come up with a whole system, then this definitely shouldn't be a problem. It really all boils down to what is important for them and how they are approaching these
Absolutely.
questions.
Okay, so then moving on, we're taking a look at the higher judiciary again, and in 2025, the Federal Constitutional Court of Pakistan, as a shock to no one, has six males and zero females. And then in 2025, the Supreme Court had 16 males and two females. And then the Federal Shariat Court and Shariat Appellate Court together had five males and no females, which again, no surprise to anybody. So now, like against last year, we had just the Supreme Court and then the Federal Shariat and Shariat Appellate Court. So it still looked relatively better. That, okay, one court doesn't have women, one court does. Now we have basically these are four different courts. I mean, I just grouped Federal Shariat Court and Shariat Appellate Court together. Now you have four senior courts, and only one has women. And in that, there are only two women.
Yeah,
So, I mean, if you take all of that into account, this 89 and this 11% representation is only based on the Supreme Court,
yeah,
right? Because that's the only one that has women.
yeah.
So that was the only one I could add here. But I did take stock of the whole thing. And if you take all of this together, then there are 93% of men in the higher, like the senior courts, and then only 7% women. And again, as you can see in the percentage form, that doesn't, I mean, it's bad, but it still doesn't look as bad as when you take a look at these figures, which is 16 and then 6 and then 5. Like you basically have, I don't know, 31 men, 32 men, and then you have two women only.
So, can you just come again? Like here it says 11% women. So I don't really understand. I didn't understand the 7% figure that you just quoted for women.
Yeah, sorry, I'll explain that again.
Yeah.
So this 11% figure is based on just the Supreme Court, as it says above as well, right?
Okay.
So it
Okay.
is based on just the 16 and 2, the Supreme Court
Right. Right.
representation.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
then if you take it all together, if you calculate it on the basis of just these two women and then these, taking stock and account of that, so that's about like, I think it's about 31, 32 males.
Right. 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 So
So yeah,
okay,
so
got it.
I took that stock into account and then it's about 93 versus 7. And
Oh.
then again, it's like 7% looks a lot better than the fact that you have only two women here in the senior
Mm.
courts. So that was something interesting to gauge. And overall, I believe that the number of female judges in the Supreme Court and in general, like in these senior courts, the difference, I don't believe that there is a difference because I do believe that last year it was also 89 to 11% because the figure has remained consistent. So in the Supreme Court, it was the same figure last time as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, um, on a general note, I mean, while there has been, as we can see here, while there has been a nominal increase in the higher judiciary from 4% to 5%, I mean, where it really matters, the Federal Constitutional Court of Pakistan, the Supreme Court of Pakistan, and the Federal Shariat Court of Pakistan, the I mean, there are no
Yeah.
females in the federal, I mean, especially in the Federal Constitutional Court. I mean, you elevated a woman in 2022, 74 years after Pakistan was made. It was like, okay, so slight mishap because the situation back in 1947 was very different to the situation back in 2022. I mean, in the present. And now you have just a 3-year gap, and still you could not add any women to it. It's
No, I
just
mean, I know, and it puts us in a big dilemma because on the one hand, of course, we are contesting the constitution of this court itself, but then, of
absolutely.
course, if it is a factual reality, until the time it is, this is the court that will be interpreting the constitution, that will be sort of responsible
Exactly.
for the fundamental rights of people, and yeah, and this definitely is a very serious concern that, where is the diversity, where is the equality, where is the, representation, not just of women, but like, when they talk about representation, they always talk about it in terms of provincial representation. So where
Hmm.
it matters to them, where it matters to the men that, oh, people from Peshawar and people from Balochistan, people from, Sindh need to be represented in the upper coast. So they're always interpreted in sense of how to get the men from these provinces to these forums.
Right.
But it's unfortunate that they haven't really talked about provincial representation in a broader context of, differently able persons, gender, uh, and also religiously diverse groups, or
Absolutely.
so I mean,
Agreed.
there's a lot more that needs to be represented in the judiciary. So that's that. But also, I think what's a bigger concern for me by looking at this data from the Supreme Court is that what our 5 year now, trajectory and trend has been telling us is that what happens when these two women in the Supreme Court also retire?
Retire, absolutely,
I mean,
absolutely.
when you talk about the pipeline or when you talk about the lack of that pipeline,
Hmm.
you still don't see any institutional efforts to make a pathway that will ensure that women are continuing to enter these streams and making their impact and presence. So that was for
Absolutely.
me very worrying that okay, it took us 74 years to get the first woman to the Supreme Court. And then what happens when she retires?
Exactly.
My next question. And it's a very big question that we should all be asking, that who is going to come after and how? And how are we ensuring that this space continues to be diverse enough and open enough, inclusive enough for
Absolutely.
representing the kind of diversity that these forums need to represent. So, for me, right now, the bigger question is what happens when these women retire, and how is the institution planning to uh, ensure that there is always space for this diversity on the bench at these forums?
Absolutely. Agreed. And also I think that and another thing that adds to it is the fact that we just discussed previously that even with the elevation of the Lahore High Court, so like, the first female Chief Justice, still we are not seeing any progress in terms of the amount of women that are being added to the Lahore High Court specifically as well. So, I mean, if that is a reflection on the provincial scale, so it is definitely worrying that what will be the reflection on this whole federal scale as well.
I just want to add to this, like I think we're putting too much onus on the female chief justice, but also you see there was a time when the chief justice alone was responsible for making nominations for
Hmm.
to the Judicial Commission of Pakistan. But even those rules have now changed. So now there are so many members of the Judicial Commission who can actually make that
Yeah.
nomination. So it's now the onus is not just on that one woman who's in that leadership role. I would I mean, yes, it makes a difference because she is right now the only female chief justice that we have currently of a high court. But having said that, it's not just her burden to
Oh
discharge.
no,
It
absolutely,
is of the
absolutely.
entire Judicial Commission of Pakistan to see what they are doing as far as this is concerned. So just wanted to put that out there.
No, yeah, absolutely, you're right. I mean, okay. So the overall figure or the overall scope of the judiciary total, like first we discussed the subordinate judiciary, then we discussed the higher judiciary. So this is them all together. So then we have males at 83% and then females at 17%, constituting both the subordinate and higher judiciary. And then if we take a look at the subordinate judiciary and the higher judiciary, we can see that there has been a jump of both of women in both sides, right? So in the subordinate as well, and then in the higher judiciary as well. And we can see that generally, at least we are not, if we come down here, we look at 2024. So when it comes to just the women, so this is a breakdown of just the women in the judiciary. So if we take a look, then at least it is not 0.8% anymore,
Yeah.
but still it is only give or take 1%. So overall, generally 99% of your female judiciary is in the subordinate judiciary, and only 1% of it is in the higher judiciary. Okay, and then this is a consolidated sort of table of everything that is going on in all the courts and everything. And yeah, so this is pretty much summing up what the judiciary in 2025 looks like. And again, like I said, that there are only 83% men and then 17% women. And then we will move on to comparing them essentially all together. So first we have the subordinate judiciary data for 2020 to 2025. And then we can see that across these 4 years, I mean, for instance, if we take a look at Punjab first, as you can see, there is a very sharp contrast in all of these years regarding the men and the women,
True.
right? And
True.
then in KP, again, we see the same, sorry, in Sindh, we see the same thing,
Yeah.
that there is a very sharp contrast between the amount of men and women. But one thing I believe that it is nice to note that at least the female representation is increasing each year. It's
Yeah.
not going down. So it's like it's sloping up. So it's a relatively better thing. In Sindh, it has stayed mostly consistent, but I do feel like it has dropped a little bit this year.
Mm.
And then in KP, it was highest in 2024, and then we've experienced a little bit of a drop in the amount of women. And then ICT has stayed consistent, Balochistan has stayed consistent, and AJK and GB has also stayed consistent. So if we take a look at the figures, I do not believe that the amount of women have changed in AJK and GB. They've remained consistent since the last year. I do believe that the men have slightly changed, give or take,
Mm.
but that is just like, just one or two people altogether.
Right.
Punjab has stayed consistent, that, the levels of men, it fluctuates. So sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's lower, but women are steadily increasing.
True.
In KP, I believe that the amount of men has relatively stayed the same, and the women have taken a slight decrease. So, for instance, for the last couple of years, KP was in the lead with 25% of female representation in its subordinate judiciary, but this year it has dropped down to 23%.
But is it
So,
still in the lead as compared to other provinces?
it's still in the lead compared to other provinces. KP is still in the lead with 23%. I believe Islamabad is at, I'm gonna have to just, sorry, just a second. Let me just take out the report.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
It's a very colorful chart, though. I must say that it really like, and it gives you a really good way to see. Had it not been for the disparity in numbers, it would be very difficult to tell which lines are for male and which are for female. But you know that the tall ones, the Burj Khalifas, or
The tall ones are men.
yeah, yeah.
Um, okay, so sorry, just a second, please.
Sure, no problem.
Okay, so in 2020, KP had about 22% women and 78% men. In 2023, KP had 25% females and 75% men. They stayed the same in 2024. And then in 2025, it is 77% men and 23% women.
Right.
And then we have Islamabad, where it was 81% to 19% in 2020, 77% to 23% in 2023, 78% to 22% in 2024, and then 79% to 21% in 2025. So we've seen a decline in Islamabad since last year as well.
That's a bit interesting because that means that in KP then you said 22%, yeah? Just to be sure again. In 20
23% in 2025.
in 2020 it was
Ah,
22%,
yes.
yeah? So and now it's
Yes,
22.
22%.
So there is that marginal increase, but probably as compared to 2024 and all, it's so it keeps fluctuating within between that 22% to 23,
Yes,
24% figure.
exactly.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much for that
No,
clarity.
no, of course. And then in Islamabad, you have 19%, then 23, then 22, and then 21. So it is also within like the 19 to 23% range. It's
Right.
not really
Right.
going anywhere beyond that. Then we have Gilgit-Baltistan, where you have 86% to 14% in 2020. Then you have 81% to 19% in 2023. Then you have 80% to 20% in 2024, and then you have 79% to 21% in 2025. And with GB, you saw a sort of drastic increase in 2020, so that in 2023 it rose to about 5%. But after that, it's just been a very nominal increase each year. But
Overall, this has been a bit encouraging for all three of these provinces because, I mean,
yeah.
when you compare it to their 2020, the first baseline, to
Hmm.
what it is in 2025? Like, if we just look at those two comparisons, would you say that the three provinces that you've talked about are showing an increase with just comparing it to the 2020 baseline?
Yes, with the 2020 baseline, yes, they're definitely showing an increase, but that increase is mainly like 1% or
Right,
2%.
right.
Yeah,
Okay.
so very, very slight nominal increase, but I mean, naturally it's still there. And it is again arguable how much of this is, based on the fact that the women are increasing or
Mhm.
the men are decreasing.
That's
So, I mean,
also.
that is also something to take stock of that, it's the figures are very plainly written out in the report that, open for all, access
Yeah,
to all.
absolutely.
So you can see there that, in certain provinces, so like from the top of my head, what I'm remembering is for specifically Balochistan, sometimes AJK, and then sometimes GB. I believe these three provinces have had this thing where the amount of women doesn't change, but because the amount of men decrease, the percentage for women generally goes up. So
Right.
that is also something to take note that how much of this increase is actually due to the
Increasing the
increase
numbers of
in,
women. Yeah.
yeah, in the numbers of women rather than the decrease in the numbers of men. Because that perspective again is really important when we're talking about, the like the stock of what the judiciary is entailing. Because I feel like that percentages really, help aid the image, but I don't know how truly reflective percentages are of the reality because that is what is shown by the numbers.
Yeah.
So that is something that,
Yeah.
is always something
Yeah.
sort of funny that I go through that, it's like on percentage on paper, how they say on paper it's looking good, but it's
Yeah.
like on paper it's not looking good. It's only looking good in percentages. If you take a look at the numbers, it's bad.
True.
So yeah. But moving on. So in Punjab, we had 84% men in 2020 and then 16% women. In 2023, we had 83% men and 17% women. In 2024, we had 82% men to 18% women. And then in 2025, we have 81% men and 19% women. So it has been a 3% increase since 2020. And every year it has increased by 1%.
Right.
And here it is truly reflective of the fact that, so while the number of men generally either stays similar or slightly increases, the amount of women is always increasing. So in Punjab, this increase is a true reflection of the fact that more women
Are
are coming
actually
into the
entering,
judiciary.
which
Yeah,
is
and so
actually.
that is why it is increasing.
Yeah, and I think your graph here also shows that kind of trend line, although it's not like it's not at a pace that we'd like it to be, but at least there is that consistent
Absolutely.
up trend here. So I mean that's encouraging, but I mean it could definitely improve.
Yeah. Okay, and then in Sindh, we have 86% to 14% in 2020, 87% to 13% in 2023, 86% to 14% again in 2024, and then 87% to 13% in 2025. So honestly, Sindh is worse off than it was in 2020.
Mm,
I mean, it stayed pretty much the same
yeah,
in the previous years, but this year it is at its lowest. So in 2004, in 2020, it was at 14, and then it has changed. I mean, it has been 14, 13, 14, 13 for all these years. So it's just staying in the 13, 14 range.
yeah,
I mean, even though there is a slight increase as well, in Sindh, generally the numbers do not stay the same. There are slight increases and decreases. So when it says an increase, it is actually because there is an increase of women.
right,
But when it says there is a decrease, it is also actually because there is a decrease in women.
right.
So that's something to take stock of, that Sindh is truly reflecting that they can't go beyond the 14% mark and then, they're kind of decreasing, increasing each year as it
What
comes.
is it this year? Is it 13?
It's 13%. It's 13%.
Oh, so it's just stayed between 13, 14.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
interesting.
2020 it was 14, 2023 it was 13, 2024 it was 14 again, and then 2025 it's 13 again.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
So then in Balochistan, in 2020, you had 90% to 10%. Then in 2023, you had 88% to 12%, and that has stayed consistent. So since 2023, the figure for Balochistan is not
8%.
changed. It is, yeah, it is changed. It is stayed 88% to 12%.
Right. So, oh,
Okay.
12%. Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So that means that even in Balochistan, when you compare it to the 2020 baseline, it's
Yeah.
it's from 10 to 12%. If
Yeah,
it's
10
not
to 12%, and that has remained unchanged throughout the past years that we've been taking stock of it.
right. Thank
And
you.
then finally, in AJK, you had 89% to 11% in 2020, then the same in 2023, and then 88% to 12% in 2024, and that has remained unchanged. So in AJK, you had 89% to 11% in 2020 and 2023, and then in 2020 and 2025, 2024 and 2025, you had 88 to 12. So it's remained relatively unchanged there as well. So that is just generally the trend that we've seen in regards to the provincial, like taking stock of the whole provinces, that relatively there are slight increases and decreases, and honestly it's a lot of yo-yoing in terms of the fact that overall it doesn't change, but there's just slight 1% increase, 1% decrease. So it's like how much of it is actually like 1%, like as we've discussed as well right now, that how much of it is actually about the numbers, and
Uh,
how much of it is actually about how many men are decreasing, how many women are increasing. So I mean, these are also things that you need to be cognizant of when you are taking a look at these provincial figures, that it doesn't always reflect the reality of what is going on.
but
So
also, I mean, like, I'm just looking at this and
yeah,
having seen you talk about it also, it seems like there's some sort of, like, we often talk about that glass ceiling, and this is where
yeah,
it's really visible because it kind of really shows that stagnancy, that, or some sort of an unspoken, bargain that these are the numbers, or this is the amount of space that we are okay with,
yeah,
with women, with sharing with women. Or I mean, I really, obviously not trying to put the blame on any one stakeholder as such. There
absolutely.
probably is a lot that needs to be done on the supply side also, uh,
Hmm.
in terms of getting women interested in picking up a career in judiciary or applying for these positions, taking those exams. It is a tough terrain. It's not an easy job. It is, the transfer policies, the kind of issues that they have to deal with in when they are in judicial service. I think it
Absolutely.
is not an easy workplace. It's not an easy job, and maybe not many women also sign up for these roles. But
Mhm.
that's again an issue which then needs to be addressed, and uh, there needs to be sort of a gender audit of sorts to see how and what those barriers are and how they can actually be improved so that more women
Absolutely.
enter these spaces and remain and thrive and advance in these roles. So I know
And
that,
Miss, if I'm not mistaken, sorry, if I'm not mistaken, do you remember the conference at the Federal Judicial Academy that we went to in
uh,
2024? And then there was a panel talk with the one of the Supreme Court justices of her name was also Justice Aisha. I don't
yeah,
remember.
she was from another country.
Yeah, she was from another country. So I do remember that she was talking about how they actually did increase the amount of intake of women
Mm,
in the judiciary that happened when they actually put in the effort. So I do believe that there also exist a lot of examples from our neighbor regions as well, that that have actually done this exercise and they've done it successfully. So I mean, there is also always that if the argument is that, oh, how would we even go about doing that? You
true.
literally have all of those examples there as well.
True, absolutely. I think it's so important to learn from, similar jurisdictions where challenges have been pretty similar, and how those countries have overcome those barriers to ensure that there is improved representation. So yeah, there is a lot that can be done. Is there another slide, or are we
Uh, yeah, I think there is.
okay?
There are a few slides. So then we're taking a look at the total amount of women's only. So this is just the chart for women in the higher and the subordinate judiciary. And then, if you remember, I said we'll come back to what you were talking about
Yeah, yeah.
in the beginning as well. So as you can see here, if we take a stock of 2020 to 2025, you said, in 2020 as well, it was a 95% male versus 5%
True,
female ratio. And even though there has been an increase, like in 2025, the amount of women in the higher judiciary is the highest that has been in
true,
these 5 years,
true,
but still, we have not been able to break that 95 to 5% benchmark. And that is somewhat worrying that even though you are increasing the women, you are also increasing the men to a scale that it doesn't matter how much you're increasing women because they're still stuck there. So I
true.
think that was something,
Yeah.
interesting to take up because last year the it was the worst as we can see. Last year it was really bad in terms of women in the higher judiciary. Only 5 women, 3 in the High Court, 2 in the Supreme Court. So even with the addition of 3 extra judges in the high courts, because the number of women in the in the Supreme Court has stayed the same,
Mm.
and as we've seen in the senior courts, it hasn't changed. So that 3 extra judges comes from the High Court,
Right.
and Peshawar High Court got a female justice this year. I mean, taking stock of this year. So when you talk about that even though, I mean, this is honestly reasonably, and with the way the state of affairs are in Pakistan, this is actually good, in terms of how we are operating. So adding 3 women to the High Court is actually a lot better because last year we didn't have, we only had like 3 women in the High Court in general. Now we have 6. So in that light, yes, it is good. But in the overall state and scheme of affairs and things, it doesn't really do much. So, even as we can see, it's just 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3 for now.
True.
So even though on numbers and on paper it is doing better, but still it hasn't been able to cross the 5% mark. And I mean, to what extent is it really, um, changing things?
Yeah,
Even,
no, I think we are not able to break those, the baseline. We basically
yeah,
haven't been. So for me, obviously, gauging any trend as far as these 5 years is concerned, I'm obviously going to go back to what it was 5 years ago, right? And when you
yeah,
compare it to that data, I mean, it's at the subordinate level, like you've mentioned, there has been some improvement, and it is
yeah,
a bit encouraging because, even if it's 1% or 2%, but all the provinces have made, improvements as far as the 2020 baseline is concerned.
absolutely,
You just
absolutely.
compare it to that. But in the higher courts, it is like really worrying that you still stuck at that 5% number, which is which essentially tells you that there hasn't been a
Yeah.
change. It was 5% in 2020, it is 5% in 2025, and I think that is something to really think about.
Absolutely. Because I do feel like, obviously our stance, our fight, all of it is about making women seen and adding women to where it is important. But, it's like we don't want token additions. Okay, okay, we're just placating you, so here are some women. We
Yeah,
want to see actual change in the way, because again, like you mentioned earlier, about half of your population is women. And you cannot just like exclude the representation of half your population by, basically sort of breadcrumbing the amount of women that you will add to the judiciary.
true.
Like, make better changes because as we're seeing now, as we saw with the exhibition as well, the one that we did, the 100 Years of Women in Law exhibition, we saw a lot of different women that are, in the litigation circle. We see so many women who are partners at firms who probably do, fulfill the criteria of the High Court as well. They've been practicing for a long time. So there is definitely scope, and there are definitely women that you can keep in mind and actually add. But, again, it really just depends. So it's like the opportunity is there, but you're not taking it,
True.
sort of. So yeah. Um, And then generally, just to wrap up the findings of the report in 2025, KP leads in terms of percentage at 2023, even though we've seen it's a drop from the last year. Punjab leads in number by having 333 women. And then in the higher courts in total, you have 5% of women and then 95% men. Generally, so then, then there's 18% in the subordinate courts, 5% of women in the higher courts, and then 17% women overall in all your courts.
Oh,
And
interesting.
then yeah, and then as we've been discussing as well, so there are this is sort of a breakdown of what has been going on, that there are 6 women compared to 117 men in the High Court. And even though, we can say that, we've added 3 women to the High Court, you also added 12 men to the High Court. So I
Mhm.
don't know how that's balancing out, because last year there were 3 women compared to 105 men in the High
Yeah.
Court.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so, I mean, I don't know like, if that argument really stands. And then, as you can see, Peshawar and Islamabad have 1 female justice each, and then Lahore and Sindh have 2 female justices each. Islamabad still takes the rank with 10% in the higher courts. Like, it still leads that it has the best representation. But again, that is again because it has the least number of male judges, because it is concentrated to one specific area.
True.
And then, which is also interesting because last year Islamabad was at 12.5% in
Right.
terms of representation in the Supreme Court. So that's dropped, but it's still at the top. And then overall, there has been increase of women in the higher courts. And as we can see again here, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa has led each year in the
Yeah.
subordinate judiciary particularly. And so that's basically the sort of wrap up of that. And then overall, again, we have 17% total number of women in the judiciary of Pakistan. And then 99% of them were in the subordinate judiciary, and only 1% of them were in the higher judiciary.
Okay, this is
And
something that always really, I mean, it's something that always really shakes me up because, when you compare women, when you're looking at women versus men and there's a 5% figure, you still very, like, it's a bit hopeful that, okay, there are 5% women in the superior courts. But when you just look
yeah,
at the numbers for women in the subordinate judiciary and in the high courts, and then you realize that out of these 17% women,
yeah,
only have 1% in the higher courts and the rest of them are in the subordinate judiciary. I think that is just one of the most telling findings of these reports because it really shows how much needs to be done in order
absolutely.
to improve and where to basically make those improvements at. So you still have
Yeah,
like about 16% judges in the subordinate judiciary out of the 17%, right? And 1%
yeah,
of them are in the high court. So you know that, okay, that is really the focus, or that should really be the focus of where the effort needs to be made in order to
absolutely.
improve, because that's what you really, really like, really need to work on. It really stands at 1% of women. And that definitely has an impact on how the jurisprudence is evolving and developing. It has a strong impact on how different concepts are, the lived realities of women are whether that's being reflected in the jurisprudence or not, and the difference that of a female perspective can bring onto the bench, we are really, really missing out. And as a result,
Absolutely.
impact on the public confidence in the judicial system, that crumbles, that dwindles. And when people don't see people like them in the judiciary, and that's not just limited
Yeah,
to women, that's when you talk about all other elements of diversity in the society. I think when your judiciary is not reflective of the society, it really does leave a very big question mark on the system as a whole, which I think the
absolutely.
judiciary should look into. And all
Yeah,
the other stakeholders responsible for appointing the judiciary, I think they should also look into how they can like take these numbers and see how they want to improve these, maybe, as you mentioned, looking
absolutely.
at other jurisdictions or uh, I mean, if they can do that for the FCC, they can do, like, they looked at other
Yeah,
jurisdictions for introducing, a civil law concept into a common law jurisdiction. So
yeah,
if they're capable of that, then they're surely capable of looking at how other countries
absolutely.
have improved women's representation in judiciary. But
And I
on,
think it is a matter of, honestly, it is a matter of, like, we've been talking about priorities for them. Because again, like, we've talked about the genesis of this court that they have made. And that probably takes a lot more effort, and that takes a lot more time than what it would for what we have been demanding for like the past 5 years minimum, and even before that. So, I mean, I guess it really is just like their matter of priorities, like, bringing women at the forefront as per usual has probably is just not it for now.
absolutely. But on that note, Tabeen, I would really like to thank you for this gender scorecard. I mean, how you've told us that KP wins the title again.
Yeah.
We also
In
know
the
that
race that we have
in
created.
the race that we, in our race, which they're not even, which they don't even know that they are playing. But I mean, it's really interesting, and I want to thank you. I know this is really tedious work. It's hard work
Oh no, it's
because we
okay.
always try and compile all our data from the official sources that are available on the High Court
Absolutely.
websites. And so getting access to that data and ensuring that it is accurate, making sure that there are
Mm.
errors in terms of counting. So I think it's a lot of hard work, and I congratulate you on your
Thank you so much, Miss.
on this effort, and thank you so much again on behalf of Women Law Initiative uh,
Of course, miss, of course.
for doing.
Sometimes it's tedious work, but in the end, it's worth it. So I feel like that this is absolutely one of those places where, yes, while you're doing it, sometimes it gets tedious and cumbersome. But at the end, when you look at the finished result, you're like, you know what, this was worth it because, oh my God, what is this?
Yeah. No, and I really hope that this report it is available on our pages, and I will be putting out the links for accessing the report once more, or you can DM us
Mhm.
for getting the PDF as well. It's open access as long as you uh, give due credit to the author and Women Law Initiative. You can use and quote this study. In fact, we encourage you to review it, send us your feedback, and the more you engage with this data, the more you talk about this data, and the more you take it forward in your own interactions with the justice sector, the parliamentarians, and other stakeholders. I think together we can make something out of it, and I really hope that ultimately these reports do contribute towards ensuring that kind of research and climate is harnessed in the society and is manifested in judicial reforms or whatever systemic reforms that do ensue. And I hope that the findings are taken seriously enough
Absolutely.
to develop the kind of or to remove the kind of barriers that need to be removed in order to ensure that these numbers are improved. So with that hope, we'd like to end this episode today, and thank you so much for staying with us. Tabin, any last words for the readers?
So firstly, just like I would like to again thank you for the opportunity, Miss, to help me be a part of something that actually I'm passionate about and that is bigger than myself. For the readers, I hope that this effort, and I hope that you take away when you read this report, you empathize, or become more considerate and cognizant of this is just one small area. So, like, if we talk about the legal area, it's just one small area in the grand scheme of affairs of how women are affected day to day by patriarchal policies and by, male-dominated spaces. So, one thing for my fellow legal counterparts that will take away from this report is that, use it as a base to write, use it as a base to advocate, use it as a base to be cognizant and understand, and always try your best to promote ethically the women in your legal circles and whatever. Like, always try your best to be more aware and considerate of these ground realities that make it harder for women to operate. And just generally, like, I hope that this can act as a tool, as a help for anybody who is passionate about writing about this, or researching about this or whatever. But like generally, I hope that whoever reads this has a good time. They're not bored by it. And generally that it impacts them in a way that like it helps them realize, or impacts them in a way that they can moving forward do better if they are not already. So
Absolutely. Thank you so much again, and see you in another episode of the Legal Decode whenever we have a new legal issue, development, law reform, or a statute to decode for you. We will be back. Stay with us. Until next time, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and thank you so much.
thank you so much, Miss.